You're tuned into the It's Real podcast with your hosts, Kayla and Andrew Yagi. Each week, we'll talk about what happens behind the scenes working full-time in real estate and share with you real-life stories, our successes and failures as we work to help consumers and industry professionals reach their real estate and real-life goals. Here we go.
Welcome to episode 78 of the It's Real podcast. I'm Kayla and I'm a mortgage lender.
And I'm Andrew Yagi. I'm a real estate agent.
And it's real in life. Can you believe it?
In the flesh.
Oh my gosh, this is great.
Yeah, it is.
We're doing it. Our first time being in person.
And why are we doing it in person today?
Because we're making dreams come true. We're closing a deal for a client that we both got the opportunity to work with, thanks to you, that we're getting into a home today at 3 o'clock. 3 o'clock.
3 o'clock.
Yeah. So two birds, one stone. Although I hate that. Two birds, one stone mentality, but two birds, one stone.
Yeah, I think so.
We're doing it.
Well, it's great. It's great to be up in the Kayla First International Bank and Trust. Yeah. Do we call it the war room up here where you make dreams come true?
War room. If we turn the camera around, you'd see all the things where magic happens. But yeah, we're at First International Bank and Trust in Fargo. When was the last time you were in Fargo? Like a week ago?
No, I was here a couple days ago for another closing. So
okay.
It's kind of been, for being mostly in Fergus Falls and the Otter Tail Lakes area. I have a number of closings up here this week, which is a little bit peculiar, but
it's awesome.
Have sign will travel.
Yeah, well, that's awesome that you're having that much success outside of your area. So welcome to Fargo.
I'm thinking too, Kayla, is this the first mortgage that we've done together?
Oh my gosh, I think it probably is. Has there been no one else? What are we doing with our lives?
I don't know. I refer people to you, and you don't reciprocate.
Oh, what? But we're reciprocating with a job well done, right?
Yeah,
we did good, right, our team?
Well, I think so. I think you guys did a really great job. In fact, I think we talked a couple episodes ago. I referred you to a potential physician coming to our area because they were looking for a physician loan, and and hopefully we can work more together in the future.
I did refer one physician to you.
That's right. They worked with someone else.
It's okay. Yeah, that happens. That's our business.
Hey, it does.
But shout out to Anna and Christina for working on this file with you and everybody. So, and your team, like everything went well, and to the title company. So, yay.
Yeah. Well, we're not there quite yet, but we've got about an hour and a half, 2 hours, couple hours. Yeah, I think it'll work out.
That helps the walkthrough goes okay, right?
Yeah.
It'll be fine.
I hope it does. So,
yay.
What's going on in your world this week, Kayla?
This week, I always come on and say, it's busy, lots of applications, but we're seeing lots of people finding homes finally. Like so many people got into contract, thank goodness. And I think our team has seen probably 10 clients get into contract in the last week. Wow. So that is exciting. That's what I'm seeing in terms of business. I'm also seeing a lot of rain and cold, and it's finally, the sun's out today, which is such a surprise. It does wonders for your soul, but we've seen such cold weather and rainy weather, and now we're seeing some warmth and some heat. So bring it. Yeah,
absolutely.
What about you? What's new in your world? What are you seeing?
Yeah, May's been a pretty big month for us and our team. And so we're closing, helping a lot of people reach their goals, find homes, get out of properties, kind of move on to the next thing. So May's been a really good, busy month. We probably saw a little bit of a slowdown in some new business or listings the beginning of May, but I would say things have really been picking up. There was maybe a couple week lull, but things have really kind of picked up again. And I was just talking to one of my builder friends, and he kind of echoed the rain and everything, kind of saying that, boy, it's been really challenging kind of to get things done lately. But hopefully we're on to a new weather cycle.
I hope so. We needed the rain though, they said so. But I do know when it comes to sod or hydro seed, that can cause some things to be pushed back, but either way, we needed it. So warmer weather on its way.
For sure. Yeah. Hey, Kayla, I saw online the other day on social media that somebody got a belt buckle of sorts. And honestly, like the only people I know who get belt buckles are into horses and
Or WW, is it WWE or is that what that's called?
yeah, I suppose, but
Yeah.
that's I think a different type of
It's a
a
buckle.
belt altogether. But
Oh my gosh.
talk about your belt buckle.
Yeah, last month I was Employee of the Month, Best of the West in West Fargo. So there's our branch in West Fargo. We've got branches in South Fargo and all over the state and other states too. But basically, you're voted on by your peers, and you get this belt buckle to wear. And I wore it. I'm going to wear it
Why don't you have it on today?
because I handed it to the next person.
Oh, so you
So-
don't get to keep the belt buckle.
We don't. So that's why it's
Oh.
fun to get. So you keep it in your office, you wear it, and then hand it to the next. And you get the best parking spot too, which if you saw back there, there's an employee parking spot for Employee of the Month. So yeah. And we got to pick where we ate for the month, and I chose Crisp and Green. So
Ooh,
exciting.
very nice.
Yeah, look out.
Awesome.
So
Well, congratulations. What did you do to earn Employee of the Month?
I think the comments were that I came to this branch just in January and bringing all the things about mortgage, really educating everyone around here, sharing what we can offer. And that helps our employees be able to know enough to be dangerous and what to look for to refer people. And obviously my radiant personality, right?
Clearly.
Clearly.
So before you were in this West Fargo branch, there wasn't a mortgage.
There is another mortgage lender here, but they remodeled and there was some movement and some changes. So yeah, there's two of us here now.
Yeah, this is a beautiful branch. I can
Yeah.
see why they can give you a belt buckle to keep with
Yeah.
maybe what was spent
I know,
on
it's a-
finishes in here.
Beautiful. Yeah.
It is.
It's gorgeous. They've redone so many different branches and it's beautiful. So blessed.
Awesome.
So welcome to the West.
Awesome. Well, congratulations on the belt buckle. I think
Thanks.
that's really cool.
I think it is too.
So you said you've had a lot of people putting, actually helping people find homes, so
Mhm.
getting things under contract.
Yep.
Sounds like you've got a lot going on. A big June,
Big June.
which is really awesome for you, your
Great.
team, and your clients. I know we've kind of talked on and off about maybe people not being teed up and ready to go,
We
and
talk about it a lot, Andy.
and
We
I
need to.
I found this image online when I was just kind of mindlessly scrolling the other day where it talks about friends don't let friends look at houses without
getting
getting
pre-approved.
pre-approved.
Yeah.
So that kind of looks like your male counterpart,
Yeah.
if there ever was
If
one.
there was
And in fact, I was just thinking, you probably could grab that sign and go stand out on 13th
I'm-
Avenue and
I tempt me with a good time. I will do it.
probably get some business off of it.
I try to put a lot of social media content out there about getting pre-approved first. I think there's this thought of once I find the house, then I'll do all the things. But it's just so backwards, right?
Right.
But people forget your pre-approval letter is good for 4 months. 4 months. So if you don't find a home, it's okay. You're not out anything but a little bit of time. And come 4 months, we just refresh everything. We get new pay
Sure.
stubs, things like that. So I think a lot of people are just scared to do that. But I'm just still so surprised in this market how many people are saying, hey, I found a house, and then rushing, because at that point, you're not getting educated. You're nervous. I had clients last week, same thing. They were going through, they're like, okay, well, I don't understand any of this. And they didn't make an offer because they weren't comfortable, because they didn't take the time. So
Sure.
I share it because I think that as a client, you want to be educated. You want to feel confident. And the best way to do that is to just take a couple days.
Yeah.
I'm not asking for a month in advance. We're talking like give yourself some time. So I'll get off my soapbox. I know.
No, I think it's a good soapbox. It's one of those things that I don't think you can, repeat or talk about enough, just because, we see it a lot too when people are coming out and looking at homes. And I've even had individuals who have gotten pre-approved where some people say, hey, okay, begrudgingly, I'm going to go get pre-approved and I'm just going to go fill out Rocket's form online.
Always get all that.
And hey, here I've got my letter, I'm pre-approved, but they're lacking the knowledge. They're
Mhm.
lacking a good local lender,
Mhm.
and they really have no idea what do they even qualify for.
I have no idea.
I was talking to a gal just the other day who, going through some life changes,
Mhm.
and, kind of talking about renting for a little while, which,
Mhm.
sometimes during life's transitions, it makes sense. And hey, even for some people, not everybody should be a homeowner, right? I mean, there are some people that renting makes a lot of sense for. But this individual's like, hey, I'm probably going to rent for 5 years and then we'll see what happens.
Mhm.
And so we talked about that a little bit. I said, I agree with renting for a term,
Mhm.
but you should get together either with a trusted lender, or if you don't have one, I said, I've got some really awesome ones, for you to visit with, because there may be some great options that help you get into a home
Mhm.
for little to nothing down,
Yeah.
and just depending on what your goal is.
Mhm.
So again,
They were
the
open to that.
importance,
They were like,
they were
yeah.
very open to that.
Mhm.
Well, and again, just a lot of like lacking knowledge, thinking, hey, when I bought this prior house, I had about a 2.75%
Yeah.
rate, and now rates are whatever. So I'm just going to wait for them to come down a bunch. And it's like, well, you're probably never going to see that
Mhm.
rate again. But
Probably not.
hey, connect with somebody who's really good, somebody like a
Mhm.
Kayla,
Mhm.
and at least look at your options.
Well, and that's just it. It's not, I think it's so daunting, which I get. Like, it's scary to show all of your financials to somebody that you don't know and provide 40 pieces of sensitive information on an application. But at the end of the day, if you just take 15 minutes to talk to someone, just talk. You don't even have to apply yet. Have the conversation. We have a girl closing June, I think it's June 6th. I can't remember. But either way, she was from NDSU. I met her and she reached out to me on Facebook. And she's like, I see you help people get into homes and you are a mortgage lender. Can we just talk? Like, I think my son and I would be better off in a house. They keep raising our rent. How often do you hear that? And I said, yeah, like, let's have a conversation. We got her pre-approved and she was like, wait, that's it? That's all? And then we had a pre-approval meeting and we talked about what her program looked like. And she's like, wait, what? I thought I'd have to bring like $40,000. She quite literally can bring $500 and get in the house. And the thing is prices are going to continue to rise, right? We know that new construction existing. We know this. So by waiting, it's fine if you wait, but you're giving up this appreciation gain and you're going to be spending more money as years go by. And when we look, it's really cool. I looked at a client's home yesterday and I saw what they paid for it, or I pulled up their file and I'm like, what did they pay for that? And I pulled up like a Zillow and a realtor.com. I just pulled up, which we know that they're not always accurate, of course, but to see probably what she's made on that and the rates are the same. So it's not like waiting would have helped her. That is really cool to see. And so it's just educating clients. And we want clients to buy when they're ready, but I'm not going to keep it to myself that waiting is the right thing to do because I really don't know that it is if you can afford it today.
Yep, absolutely. Well, and I think the other thing that's interesting right now, this camera really likes to focus on you. I think it's your animation in your hand movement.
Is it? Like,
I don't know. Yeah, I think it is. I think there's an AI component to it. But
I like it.
Anyway, I was going to talk about, and even buying homes right now, and I saw this in the Wall Street Journal the other day, Kayla, and I've also seen it proven here locally. The fact that home builders are piling on discounts as they struggle to entice buyers. So I've seen a lot of builders, I get emails from all the builders in the Fargo area every week, and just some of the incentives and specials they have. It's huge. I'm starting to see it, that we don't have many builders in our area, but I've had a couple of people reach out just the other day saying, hey, is your client so-and-so still interested in this property? Because, hey, we've got, a $10,000 in upgrades or 10 grand in concessions. I've seen much higher, in the Fargo area, but I think too, so many people are building. Again, I was talking to a friend of mine who's in the car business, and he said, boy, we've really had a good year. It really boggles his mind to see how much or how many people can keep buying these expensive new cars. But did say that in May kind of saw things slow down a little bit. And part of it is, I think, the affordability piece, and a lot of people are kind of running out of steam. In fact, I also saw this, Kayla, the Burns Affordability Index. I don't know if you've ever seen this. I came across it. Yeah, so I came across it online, and basically what this shows is housing cost to income ratio. So basically what it's saying right now is currently people are spending about 42% of their income on housing. They say the new norm, kind of the benchmark or baseline, is about 33%. If you've ever listened to like Dave Ramsey, Kayla, where Dave Ramsey says, hey, you shouldn't spend more than 25% of your income on housing. And we try to, like with rental properties, try to use 30% as a little bit of a benchmark. But this talks also about the fact down at the bottom here, they calculate the housing cost to income ratio by dividing the market's median monthly housing costs by 125% of the median income. So it basically, again, takes a couple of other things into consideration, but more or less, looking at this particular figure here, it's telling us, let me see here, that affordability is at the most strained level in nearly 4 decades, only exceeded by the early 80s when rates briefly topped 18%.
Yeah. Why do you think that is? Like what do you think it's the rates? Do you think people, I mean, 42% and the norm is at 33, was it? So do you feel like housing is more expensive, rates are more expensive?
Mhm.
Is that kind of what you attribute to that?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think it's everything. I think first of all,
Mhm.
home values just keep increasing. So,
Continue.
you talk about appreciation, home
Mhm.
values keep increasing. Wages have been relatively stagnant.
Same.
Insurance rates keep going up. I talked to one of my good friends in insurance on the drive up today, and he said it's been really tough for insurance, just trying to find markets for people and
Mm.
trying to find places to put people in their business because the
Mhm.
insurance companies have had so many losses. So I think it's a variety of things, but
Mhm.
all of that kind of ties in, to the fact that it makes sense to be educated
Mhm.
and to kind of know,
Mhm.
what are your objectives, and hey, is there a better option out there for you?
Well, and I think just knowing the options, and I think too, like the whole like car dealership thing, I'm thinking, okay, so are they seeing it slow down because people are reallocating to maybe buy homes, or is it just in general, people have got to stop spending? Like we are in like the trillions of debt load that our country has. Do you feel like when he made that statement, it was about more so people are just realizing, oh my gosh, I can't afford this. I need to stop spending. Is that kind of the vibe he gave?
Yeah, I think it's a couple things. First of all, I think a lot of people rushed in to try to beat the tariffs, and try to get into
Okay. Yes.
a new vehicle. So
Mhm.
I know, and even talking to another car dealer friend, just said they're like, hey, it's been gangbusters because people are worried about tariffs. But then, yeah, I think
Sure.
people are just running out of steam. They're
Mhm.
running out,
Mhm.
financially, and it's a little bit challenging.
Well, and I see it every day. We pull credit constantly on applications and we see what the consumers are spending. And almost every time I've got a client that has a house to sell, they're like, well, we're going to put all the proceeds towards a down payment. And I say, wait, hold up. Does it make sense to put this, let's just say $100,000 towards a 30-year loan at, let's just say 6.5%? Or does it make sense to pay off these credit cards? Because we're seeing it and it's nothing to be ashamed of. It's just the fact of the matter. But by being educated on your options, okay, this could free up cash flow, which will allow me to be comfortable in this payment and this rate. And a lot of people just don't even realize that's an option. They don't even think about it. And I think that tapping into your equity and finding solutions that work for you and being more responsible. I don't know if it's our generation or what's going on, but it feels, and I could be wrong, that people are prioritizing other things in their life than home ownership.
Yep.
I could be wrong, but it feels like when I talk to someone, I'm like, okay, what's your reason you want to buy? And what's your budget? A lot of times you're saying, here's my budget, but listen, I still want to take the vacations. I still want to do this. I still want to do XYZ. I really like to do this. And that's good. That's great. But I think when we look back at our, parents' generation, I wonder what they were prioritizing. Was it home ownership or was it other? I don't know. But I'm just seeing different priorities and that's okay. But it seems
I,
to be a
I
trend.
think there's just too much noise out there today.
Mm.
Social media and everything. People want to keep up with the Joneses.
Oh,
I
yeah.
go on online and see that Kayla Calendar just went on this awesome vacation somewhere,
Oh,
and hey, I want to
where
go
did
on
you go?
vacation. No, I don't
I
know.
haven't been anywhere like 4 years, Andy.
Right, but no, I think going back to our
Mm.
parent, like when we grew up, like we didn't really go on vacations very much. I
Mhm.
mean, I think we maybe took a van trip across country once or twice or whatever,
Mhm.
but it wasn't until quite a bit later that we
Yeah.
did. And I think a lot of people are like, forget it. We're
Mhm.
taking that trip. I'm gonna
Mhm.
go and charge it, and I'm
Mhm.
going to Vegas. I'm not gonna miss
I
out.
know. I think too, people thought that this just might be temporary. So we're gonna wait to buy, we're gonna wait to do these things, or we're gonna wait. Like I think people thought it'd get better, but it really didn't. And I think that's where the credit card debt came in. It's like, we'll put it on the card for now. So they kept spending, not realizing, oh gosh, now I've got to pay that off. And that's just the feedback I've gotten from a lot of clients is like, well, we thought maybe we'd be making more. We thought maybe we could, get a house for cheaper. And I think that that's how the credit card debt added up so fast.
Sure.
They're keeping up with the Joneses.
Yeah.
Keeping up with the Yankees. Or
or the
or maybe,
calendars.
I don't know. But yeah, and I think that it's just a little education goes a long way
Yeah, for sure.
for clients.
Yeah.
So
So get educated early, often. I guess that's
please.
the consistent moral of the story.
And it's not scary. Like if you're talking to the right lender, it's not scary. Is it scary? Is it scary to talk to maybe? Okay. It's not
No,
scary to
no,
talk
it's
to
not.
me. And like there's no judgment. Like we all have our things. It's like let someone look at it with you and just have a conversation. Same with your realtor. Even if you're not ready to buy today, still talk to one and just
Mhm.
get to know them. So
Well, or even I think of several instances lately where I've gone into a home and boy, they're getting close to a sheriff's auction for foreclosure, or the house is run down and uninhabitable, and they can't afford it and they need a way out. And obviously there are a lot of things that are in play that are way deeper than, what we can ever help with, as real estate professionals. But I just always encourage people like, hey, if you have a problem, like reach out, like we're here to help you find solutions.
Well, and that's just it. I think it's like, oh my gosh, once I start that conversation, I have to be committed. I talk to people that aren't ready to buy for 2-3 years. They just want to have the combo. So
right.
Educate and talk.
Have the talk.
That's all I'm saying.
Right.
That's all. We're not scary.
Right.
We're not scary.
For sure. Yeah. Kayla, I want to shift gears a little bit, and I want to talk a little bit about, maybe we could cover, talk about a little real estate vocabulary, or things that, maybe we take for granted working in real estate every day, that we think are very common, but are things that the average person just doesn't know.
I like this.
Can you think of any examples?
Oh my gosh, let me get my list out. I started a list actually, because when we do our webinar, I'm also going to do a webinar for realtors.
Oh, we're going to do a webinar one day?
I promise we will. Andy, I know. You guys, we're doing a webinar at some point. It's just, I haven't prioritized it. Stay tuned.
Well, I haven't either. So,
well, I think that there's a lot of things that people don't know. Do you want me to start like kind of listing off, because I sure could list probably like top 3 or 5. And I think
what are your top 5?
So when a client gets into contract, this happened this week. So that means getting into contract means a client has an accepted offer. They made an offer, the client or the realtor and the listing agent said yes to your offer. You get into contract, you have a purchase agreement. A lot of realtors don't realize that holding on to that purchase agreement for a day or 2 or 3 or 4 can impact the client's interest rate. Isn't that wild?
Well, yeah.
Did you know that? I mean, you probably did, because you sent things.
Well, I see things, I watch rates, so I know they fluctuate. But, I honestly haven't ever given it a thought, just because it's like, hey, we put something under contract. If I'm working with a buyer, like we're getting things rolling right away. Title, lender.
Yeah.
We're moving.
Yep. And a lot of times, we'll be asked, how quickly can you close? Well, how quickly can I get that purchase agreement? Because we as the lender, we can't do anything without that legal binding contract. We need that in order to order the appraisal. We need that to order title. Our team cannot disclose fees and rates, all these things, until we see the contract that shows tax prorations, close date, seller concessions, what's the earnest money. And when we're giving our clients these numbers, we want to be as accurate as possible, because we're held to certain limits of, what our title fees are and what we disclose. So sometimes I'll see realtors that'll hold on to a purchase agreement for a week or 2 weeks. And the client's like, well, can I lock? And I'm like, well, we really need to see that first. So that's something that a lot of realtors probably and clients really don't know. So that's something that I think is uber important. And honestly, the sooner we have stuff, the sooner we can get you final approved.
Right.
And who doesn't love a final approval?
No,
So,
we love it.
So that's one thing. The appraiser. The appraiser sees everything on a purchase agreement. They get a copy. I had a realtor ask, do they get this? Yes, they do. Did you know that?
That I learned that early on, and it kind of blew my mind, just because like an appraisal is supposed to be kind of an unbiased, like objective, valuation of the home. And, I mean, how can someone do objective work when they basically say, oh, this is what they're paying? And, at the end of the day in real estate, what do we like? We like appraisers that are yes men, so to speak, that they help get the deal done, versus I think of like in the Fargo area, like some of the larger banks that have their in-house appraisers. Those have been some of the most challenging deals, just because they're so nitpicky. Like, the home came in $5,000 under value, whereas I know in Fergus Falls, like the appraiser is just going to give me that value. I had when we were building our spec house, I had an initial appraisal done. It came in kind of low, and I kind of questioned the appraiser, gave him some more comps. He jumped it up, kind of from like a 230 up to a 260, and then we sold it for 295, and it was the same appraiser all 3 times.
Oh my gosh!
And he made the appraisal work.
Oh my God!
Which I'm not complaining, because we got the job done.
You showed the proof is in the pudding, right? What is this value? Here's comps that maybe you didn't have. Here's some things that you might want to know. I mean, you can always ask for a different number, and that's something we do. Is, hey, if you have the proof to support the value, give it to us. Maybe the appraiser just doesn't have it.
Yeah,
but here's the thing. on the purchase agreement, if you're talking about things that need to be repaired, if you're talking about issues, like we don't put
Don't do
the,
it.
I mean, the appraiser is going to see it ultimately. And we also don't need the seller's disclosures. We
Yep.
don't.
And
because
also don't
don't
let the
want,
lender know about maybe some
yeah.
of the things.
Hmm.
And just because
Hmm.
I think, we've had some transactions where, hey, the home maybe needs some work. And so on the side, we're
Hmm.
making an agreement to, potentially provide some cash at closing.
Yeah.
Don't,
We need to know because
Yep.
underwriting will see it, appraisers see it. And so I think that when we see that, okay, the disco ball is also included and the hot tub and things like that, that's personal property. And a lot of times we can't have that on there.
So you want a separate personal property agreement.
If there's something about that or something that just can make it confusing, that's what a lot of realtors don't know. But we have to get things to that appraiser, and that can kind of create some issues. So I share that because a lot just don't know it. So should I keep going?
I think you should.
Okay. Earnest money. A lot of people don't know what earnest money is. It's when you essentially write a check or provide funds electronically to secure that you're serious on the property. So that could be $5,000, let's say. It comes back to you at closing, so you get a credit back. So I buy your house, I give you a $5,000 check, and I say, Andrew, I'm serious. If I follow through, you're going to give that back to me at closing, right? You don't actually get it, the type of company does. But a lot of people don't know, or realtors don't know, and clients, is that you don't want to do cash or money orders. And if anyone else does that for you, gives the money, it's a gift. So again, it's important that the person buying the home is the one giving the funds.
Do you think there's a lot of merit or a lot of value to earnest money?
Oh, that's tough. So I had a client that wrote a $10,000 earnest money check on a relatively small house and like kind of way over. I was guessing it'd be like 1,000. It was 10 grand. And then I had a client that bought an $864,000 home and the earnest money was only 1,000. And they got into a tricky situation where they were going to back out. If they backed out, they would have lost their $1,000.
Maybe.
Maybe. But if they would have written this bigger check, I think there's more skin in the game. However, I would love to know your take on that.
Yeah. I've had so many interesting, transaction earnest money experiences. And, if you've got a cash deal going, I think there's more weight to earnest money
Sure.
because you don't have a financing contingency. But generally what I tell people is if someone has bank financing and if the deal falls apart, they're probably they're getting their earnest money back. And,
Yes.
so for the most part, I think earnest money is kind of worthless in some ways because most everyone's going to fight to get it back. But I've even had cash deals, Kayla, where someone's backed out. I just don't want it, but I want my earnest money back.
Oh.
And
Oh.
and hypothetically, then the property's tied up. We're kind of in limbo until we can kind of find a conclusion.
Oh.
And I don't know. I mean, I think it's definitely a parameter. And I think it depends on the client too. And that's we're serving the client. So I've got some sellers who they really like in their mind, they place a lot of value and emphasis in earnest money. So for them, it might be more important than it is to the average person.
Right. I see it both ways. I see it kind of being like it is what it is. But in some situations, if they do back out, like if someone's backing out, I'm not providing a letter that says they're denied because they're not. We have options, but if they're backing out, they could lose that. I had a client that happened to last week. He lost his earnest money. And is it common? Do you find that there's a chance that someone, if they back out and it's in a domino transaction, do you feel like they could potentially be sued? Have you ever seen that? Because that was the comment that was brought up by the realtor. And I'm like, oh, I don't know. But you're impacting 4 other homes from closing on time.
Yeah. I mean, anybody can get sued for anything.
True.
Today. So I think anything's possible. Are most people going to take the time, effort, and energy to sue someone? No, I don't think so. And I've had some deals that have fallen apart, like even a couple of years ago when the market was even hotter, and get really bent out of shape. One of them got bent out of shape because they didn't think that we collected enough earnest money.
Oh.
And we had 1%, which is standard, but they thought in a sense that, hey, you as my agent, you're not doing your job because you didn't get us enough earnest money because now we're out for blood and we're really mad.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
And so very, very interesting. But I look at I don't know. I mean, there are a lot of people that make threats and emotions run high, but I've never seen anyone really sue anybody.
I haven't either, but it was a topic that was brought up. So thank you.
Interesting.
Okay, I have another
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. This is not a dig, this is just helping. This is helping, right? Those that are listening.
Mhm.
When you share that someone should go shop around, go shop rates. I had a client yesterday. We were on a Zoom call at 6:00 at night because that's what I do for my clients. So, because if they're in Arizona and they're on different schedules, doesn't matter. And they had shopped their rate with another lender. The rate was an eighth lower than mine, but their mortgage insurance was almost double. So what they were paying for their payment was much more with this other company than me, but all they were told was to shop rate. They didn't know any better. And so I would encourage those that are listening that are home buyers and realtors to have your clients interview lenders. Go and talk to them. Go Google them. Are they available? How do they communicate? But don't just shop rate. Yes, it's important. We talk about that all the time. Shop rate, but what are the fees? What are the origination costs? What are your mortgage insurance numbers? Because when the client talked to me, they're like, oh, they were a little bit better. Well, the market had moved, but I said, look at your mortgage insurance. And they're like, oh my gosh, I have no idea. And so I just share that it's important, yes, fees and rates, because some lenders out of this world, like rates and fees are high. Do your due diligence, but also interview the lenders, because the clients I talked to yesterday, their lender wasn't available after 5. Anytime that they try to talk, not that I'm saying they should be, but I just think it's more important to rephrase the thought of go and interview a lender. Don't just shop an interest rate, because it's not all about the rate.
Mm-hmm.
So
Right.
That's kind of one of my biggest takeaways, because I think that's all the consumer's really told to do.
Yep.
To shop rate.
Well, and everything becomes commoditized. Like it comes down to price. And so that's one of the biggest questions we get asked as agents is, well, what's your rate? What's your percentage? It's like, hey, that's a great question, and we're going to get to that. But let's actually talk about what we're going to do for you and how we're going to help you be successful and reach your goals. Yeah, I mean, you could go to you're going to find an agent that's less expensive than me, but what are you going to get?
And you can make 100 dials and find someone that's cheapest, and then rates shift again. Or what are you getting? And I tell clients that are shopping insurance, I go and interview insurance agents. What's your premium? But what are you getting? Are you bundling? Are they accessible? And it's the same thing with a realtor. I would never say, go and find the realtor with the cheapest listing, right? Like, go find someone that's going to give it to you for free. Like, we don't do that because we know what they get. Right. So that would be probably the final thing I can think of, that like people just don't think a lot about because they don't until they're really in it and see it. Yeah.
Well, that's very interesting. And I mean, we could obviously sit and talk and do a
webinar
and do a webinar, which I think we will do. And we've got to prioritize it. Probably not as we're getting into the busy season,
maybe,
but yeah, maybe, I don't know.
We'll see.
Yeah, we'll get to it. But anyway, we better wrap up, Kayla, because we've got to go do a closing.
We got to get to closing. Yay!
Yeah, we do. So that's always exciting when something makes it to closing, and exciting that, hey, we're in your office shooting an episode, and we're going to go help someone reach their goals together.
We're going to help. We're going to do the thing. And thank you for coming to Farm Workout and doing this.
Yeah.
And we want to know if you guys like this in person more, if you like the other way better.
Yeah, that's a good question.
We'll make it a priority.
Comment below. Yeah.
Comment below.
Comment below. So, well, episode 78 is in the books.
You did it.
Great connecting as always, Kayla, and we will see you at closing shortly.
We'll see you in a couple hours.
All right, see ya.